Hi, Duffy with the Gorge Fly Shop. What I'd like to go over with you today is how to build a simple yet really stout loop in the end of your sink tip. I'm going to use a series of 2 nail knots. It's a very convenient way to do it, especially if you're on the water and you break your tip. You don't need shrink tubing, you don't need a braided loop. So with that, I'll get started. Here's my sink tip. I like to use a needle. I've got some hemostats here. And as far as what tippet material I like to use Maxima 10 pound. Here I'm using the brown chameleon because I'm hoping it shows up a little bit better for this demo. So I take the tip and I double it over. Leave myself about 1 inch. I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to come up and lay it right side by side, like so. Then I take 10 to 12 inches of chameleon here, and I'm going to split it right in half. Now the left side, the tag end, I'm going to come back up, still pinching here. I don't want to release that line. I'm going to come up and I'm going to start to wrap around both the needle and the sink tip. I want to try and keep those wraps nice and tight together. Once I get about 4 or 5 wraps, I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to take that tag end that I've been wrapping, I'm going to go through the needle. Then I'm going to pull that needle through underneath the wraps that I just made. Okay? Then I'm going to take both tag ends and I'm going to pull just very gently to try to tighten those wraps up. Okay? I'm going to take a look at my wraps. It looks like I have some pretty tight wraps there. I want a nice small profile loop, so I'm going to slide that tippet material up, slide those wraps up just a little bit so I can make a nice small loop. Okay. So now I have both tag ends here. This is where I'm going to grab my hemostats, clip them onto both tag ends. Now I like to use hemostats because you can get a lot of purchase. I'm going to spin the hemostats so that I can get some nice pulling power, and then ever so slightly I'm going to apply pressure and pull tension into those wraps. And what you want is those wraps to really dig into that sink tip material. Now I'm going to clip these tag ends off. So there's my first nail knot. Now I think I'll show you how to do a nail knot with anything else you could use. Like I'll use a match per se. You could use a nail, anything that's skinny. Okay, so there's my first knot. This time I'm going to use Old Faithful Strike Anywhere to help me make my nail knot. I'm going to grab 10 to 12 inches Maxima. I'm going to lay my match up along the edge of my sink tip. Again, I'm going to grab that tippet in the middle point of it, and I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to come up the left tag end, and I'm going to start to wrap around the sink tip and the match. I want to try and keep those wraps all in a line, because the tighter I keep it here, the more liable it's going to stay all nice in a line. Okay, so I finished my wraps. Now instead of pulling through the eye of the needle, I'm going to have to feed it underneath in this little gap here between the match and the sink tip. I need to feed that through. Here's the other end. I'm going to snug up just a little bit. I'm going to pull that match through. Now I'm still squeezing those wraps to make sure they stay in line. I'm going to snug up a little bit here. Okay, so my wraps look pretty good. If they're out of whack, now's the time you can kind of work that line and straighten them out. But my wraps look good, so I'm going to take my hemostats. I'm going to clip them onto each tag end. I'm going to spin the mono around the hemostats, and I'm going to gently apply pressure so that that mono really digs into the sink tip material. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm just going to clip the tag ends off here. Now when I go to clip this, the tag end of the sink tip, I'm going to try and angle it slightly without snipping my mono. And there you have it. There's a homemade loop for a sink tip. Pretty easy. If you get those wraps to dig in adequately into that sink tip, get some nice tight wraps. It's extremely stout. If you want to, you can take a little bit of glue or some aqua seal and just lay it over and kind of smooth out this rough edge at the very end of it. Although your sink tip really shouldn't be coming inside the rod tip anyway, for the most part, so not a giant concern. But there you have it. There's your loop.